Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday night Bible study here at Action Faith Center. We're so glad that you can be with us once again. We are live here on Facebook and YouTube. And remember, we have our chat open on Facebook. So if you have a question or a comment, please send it here. We would love for you to be part of the discussion. We're here once again with our Pastor David Sariñana, as always. And we want to get right into it. We're going to talk about the role of the woman in the kingdom of God. We're just going to continue talking about this, what we talked about this past Sunday, which was Mother's Day. A great day to honor all of the moms and all of the women that play the role of a mom in the lives of so many people. And Pastor, you talked about Proverbs 31 as kind of like the cornerstone text on the importance of the woman and the gifts and talents that God has given the woman, and why it's so important that they not just keep it in their home, but actually bring it out into the open and do everything they can to bless themselves, their family, and the world with the things that God has blessed them with. So wherever you want to pick it up, Pastor, we can take it from there.
Before I go there, I just like to ask you if you enjoy the teachings that we give, that you give us a like on Facebook, you share it with your friends and family. And if you're watching us through YouTube, that you give us also a thumbs up and subscribe, because that makes us want to continue doing this, and knowing that the blessing that God has given us through His Word, that is being a blessing to you also. Yes. Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to mention was that, and I think that is important that we have a very clear understanding that man in Scripture, right, and according to Genesis 1:26-28, man, M-A-N, is the definition of a male and a female, and so when the word speaks about the man, right, he's talking about both the male and the female, the two separate entities, right?
Yes.
Not that a man is a woman. I mean, a woman is a man. No, that's not. It's talking about that. It's a male and a female.
Yes.
And two separate bodies, two separate entities.
Correct.
Okay. But the Bible says that they were both created in the same image, in the same likeness. They were created in the likeness and the image of God.
Correct.
The Bible does not stipulate that the woman received 60% of God's image and 60% of God's likeness, yes. and the man, the male received 100%. No, they both received the same thing. Their essence is exactly the same. Their interior essence, their soul, right? Their spirit is the same. Mm-hmm. And so this is very important, because you cannot understand chapter 31 of Proverbs without understanding this basic truth, right? Foundational truth. Mm-hmm. And because you're going to have a lot of issues trying to envision yourself doing things that you never would think that you would be capable of doing.
Yes.
So once you understand this, the difference between Adam and Eve was their function, right? Not their capability, not their abilities, not their degree of importance. Now, yes. The physical body, right? God gave the woman a physical body, and He gave the male a physical body that would serve them for the fulfillment of their function.
Correct.
Right? And we said, same degree of importance, different function. Right? Yes. So nowadays, they're trying to change men's bodies, turn them into women's bodies, yes. and women's bodies, turn them into men's bodies. And they're making a mess out of what God created. And, we have probably the highest level of suicides amongst those people. That we never had that in our past history, never in the history of humankind, and so you have to be okay with what God has given you, because it has a reason, right? There's a reason for that. Now, the fact that your function is different, it doesn't mean that you're abilities to do things are less than, for women, less than the male. But that's not the case. As far as, intellectual capacity,
Sure.
certain even manual abilities, right?
Manual
There's
work.
some things that you guys are much better than we are.
Yes.
And so those things are extremely valuable when you look at chapter 31 of Proverbs. And again, we encourage you to study this. You find a woman that is amazing with taking care of the husband, taking care of the kids, right? But also being an excellent giver, an excellent doer. Outside of the home, she's a salesperson. She is a businesswoman. She understands real estate. She understands trading. I mean, she's all over the place.
Yes.
She has a place at the doors of the city. Her kids, praise her because of the things that she has accomplished. She's just an amazing woman.
Yes.
And you were mentioning something I think that you should mention in this session also, that there are times in a couple's life, right, where certain things are put aside for a little bit
Yes.
to take care of family matters. Maybe you want to go ahead
Yeah.
because that came from you, and I don't want to take credit for that.
I think what we were talking about was that typically, and I know we were talking about like Hispanic culture. It's the man works and the woman stays home. That's like the traditional roles that they've played over the years. And we were saying that, it's so important that the woman recognize her talents and her abilities, and that her husband, her partner, her life partner, not only allow her to exercise them, but encourage it. Because one of the things that we've observed is that when the woman is made to not exercise her gifts and abilities and her talents, there's a level of frustration that really gets deep into the heart of the woman, and it leads to a lot of problems. It's one of the things that many times can often lead to divorce, but it spills over to all the different areas of life. But a lot of times the woman is a lot more capable in certain areas, and it's beneficial to the male as well, and to the kids, and just to the household in general, that she exercised her gifts and her abilities. So that's one of the main reasons why it's important that we not only allow them but encourage them to go forward in those things.
Yeah, and I was mentioning that the teachings that Bible scholars, Bible teachers teach in a lot of instances in regards to the role of the woman it's incorrect, and so the woman is seen as the one that is the one that stays home and she's going to take care of the husband, and it seems like the woman is a woman until she marries. A woman is independent, progressing, growing, reading, working, doing all kinds of things. And as soon as she marries, it's like she stops being a woman.
Yes.
And now she becomes the man's helper, right? So then her identity is lost.
Yes.
And that frustration is huge, right? Because all of a sudden, from being someone that was used to growing and learning and doing things, producing, creating, now all of a sudden she stops all those things. And it begins to accumulate. The frustration begins to accumulate. And again, it ends up in many cases in divorce.
Yes.
You have to realize that as a man, it is the job of the woman as a helper to help the man, right, maximize his gifts. Yes. It is the man, right, because the Bible says that he's the savior of the woman, to help his woman maximize her gifts.
Yes.
And together help each other grow. That's what makes a couple very, very strong.
Yes.
The fact that they complement each other. And in this aspect of life, right, their growth accelerates.
Yes.
When you get married, it's supposed to be an accelerator.
Right, like an amplifier to the quality of your
Exactly.
life.
Not a distraction or something that is going to
Holding you
detain,
down.
that is going to hold you back. It's supposed to accelerate the process of growth and development and functionality, right?
Yes.
Not the opposite.
Correct.
In most cases, the opposite happens
Yes.
because they don't have the understanding.
Yes.
So if you enter marriage, right, that's why I highly recommend that before you marry somebody, right, that you guys talk about vision. Where does he see himself in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years? Where does he see you as a woman in 3, 4, 5, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 50 years, right?
Yes.
And because if you guys don't have the same vision, you're gonna have a lot of problems.
Yes.
And most couples don't talk about vision. They invest so much time planning the wedding ceremony and the honeymoon and all this stuff, and zero time in planning their marriage and planning their years together.
Pastor, I remember when I got married, you gave us premarital counseling, and that was one of the things that you talked about. Was one of the things that you talked about that's very important, as what you're saying, is that you talk amongst yourselves, how you guys want to divide up the work. There's no one way to do it. Everybody's different. So just on that alone, get the idea. Don't have the idea of, well, this is what the woman does, this is what the man does. I'm the man, so I can't do what the woman does. Whatever the need is, you serve the need. And whatever you're good at, that's what you do. However, you also did say it would be wise, you guys switch up the roles sometimes so you understand what the other person does and you can appreciate it and you can do it. If something happens where for a season you have to kind of fill in because they're not around or they're not able to. A lot of times things happen where we're not able to do things, and the household, the family still needs to function and keep going forward. And one of the things that I, going back to what you were saying before, is especially when you have two people or a woman that has an education, has her career, then she gets married because, well, I want to have a family. Sometimes that it's okay for her to put her business or her career to maybe like the back burner when my kids are little and I want to be present and in tune with them when they're in their younger years, their formative years. And as they get older and they don't need me as much, then I can go back and go back to the thing I was doing before. Because, we don't mean to say that, well, if you're a stay-at-home mom, that, what you do is not important. That's probably one of the most important things that you will do. However, we see that in Proverbs 31, that the woman is made for much more than just childbearing and child raising. We see that, and they're capable of doing so many more things and a lot of things at the same time.
See, it's a generational impact.
Yes.
That she's having on her family, and in order to do that, it's a manifestation of all the gifts that a woman has, and so when they become just one-dimensional, they cut short the learning process for the children, and she falls into frustration because she's not being who she was created to be.
Yes.
So the kids need to see her in her full glory.
Yes.
Manifest her full glory, all the gifts that she has, right? And as she does this, she's going to be a very fulfilled, happy woman that is going to be a better wife, a better mother, a better businesswoman. I mean, all those things that come with being happy and fulfilled.
Correct.
And when it doesn't happen like that, then you get
There's a
the
nasty
worst
spillover effect. That's very true, because when a person feels frustrated, it spills over to all the areas of their life. They're less patient with their kids, less patient with the spouse.
Everybody loses.
When I don't feel good about myself, everybody else is going to suffer, and that's a very important point. And also too is, one of the things that I've learned is that when you're with small infants and toddlers all day long, 24/7 for all the time, like, you need a break. And sometimes the break is, I need to go out and do something where I feel productive.
And different than that.
Yes, and it could be any number of things, but sometimes working part-time or doing something on the side, like they say now, like a side hustle, it's actually kind of like a therapeutic thing for them, because they feel that not only am I being productive, but I'm also setting the example.
See, the other thing is that And I said it on Sunday. Most men that have women that don't work outside the house, when they're asked, does your wife work? They say, no, she doesn't work. It's like the homework, right? The work at home
It doesn't count.
doesn't count. And that is horrible,
Yes,
right?
Yes. And
What
it's
you
not
do,
work.
woman, what you do at home is extremely productive.
Yes.
And you gotta feel productive. Now,
Yeah.
it's a productive work that is very intense.
Yes.
Very intense, very tiring.
It is.
Physically and mentally. Because especially if you're dealing with kids, right?
Yeah.
That's why she needs to get out.
Yes.
So she can use her creativity in other areas where there's no screaming, no yelling and demanding and this and that. And she continues to grow. See, that gives her the best balance, like we were saying a minute ago, for her to be the best mom possible, the best wife possible, and still be the best businesswoman possible.
That's right.
But that's the balance that God gave to them.
Yes.
And so, men, we have to understand that. And we have to allow them to do those things. And we have to value what they do at home. You know, my wife works at home, right? And then she tells me this. And I go, she goes to the office to work at the office to rest from the homework.
Yeah, I believe it.
You know, the work at home is very demanding. So I tell my wife, I go, look, I don't want you to cook today. Let's just go out. And I love her cooking. But I go, no, let's just go out. Let's just go have dinner. Let's just relax.
Yes.
You know, we were talking about a couple of days ago, man, we need a vacation. She goes, yeah, we need a vacation. I go, but just you and I go, let the kids stay, right? And see, those are the things that we need to, as men, right, keep an eye on to protect the well-being of our spouses, because, I mean, they're truly a blessing to our lives. And if we have them in a position where they're happy and they're productive and they're creative, man, that's more power to us.
Yes.
You know, makes our jobs a lot easier and everything that we do.
Yes.
We win, they win, the kids win, everybody wins, society wins.
Yeah, and especially if you have boys. Well, it sets the example for both, but you know, Vanessa talks about this all the time. It's, you know, I want him to see. I want our son to see. I'm setting the example for him. You know, look, this is the kind of woman that you want to marry when you become an adult. Somebody who is, you know, smart and works hard and this and that and then that. They learn by seeing, not so much by what you tell them. They learn a lot more by the example that you set, and that's a very important thing.
When we suppress women, right, when we keep them down, you know, in most cases, you probably have seen the same thing that I've seen. You know, the husband usually, for whatever reason, the husband usually dies before the woman in most cases.
Yeah, that's actually, like Victor says, scientifically proven.
Scientifically proven.
I'm sure the life insurance people can confirm that information. Women live longer than men.
And so what happened is that now the woman is there, no husband. She has no idea of the technology, no idea of the insurance policies, no idea if she had if the husband had a business, no idea about the business. They can't do their accounting, their books. It's a mess.
Yes.
Right? It's a mess. They can't. So they have to sell things. They have to sell properties. They don't know how to deal with tenants, because she was never given an opportunity to grow and develop.
Yes.
And so if you're a woman that your husband is a business or has properties, you must demand, and tell them that Pastor David said so,
Yeah.
demand for your husband to teach you, that you learn, especially that you
It
learn
is.
how to drive. My goodness.
Yeah, that's
that you
true.
learn how to drive, that you learn how to call the doctor, that you know all the basic things that you should know. You
Yes.
need to demand that you learn all these things, because you never know what could happen.
Yeah, and I remember going back to when we were getting premarital counseling, I mean, you also said that no partnership is ever 50-50. And if you go in expecting it to be 50-50, you're going to set yourself up for disappointment or a resentment. And it's true what you say, because there are seasons within the family, within the marriage, with kids, no kids, young kids, older kids, things happen where sometimes somebody has to carry the load for longer because the other person is not able to, or they're in the middle of something else. Like, it's common where people say, hey, you know, well, I want to go back to school and get my master's, or I'm going to get this credential or this because it's going to help us long term. Well, guess what? Our routine changes, our schedule is going to change. You're going to have to take them to school, pick them up because I need time to study or whatever. Having that flexibility in mind, I think, is very important as well.
No, that's extremely important. You know, an interesting thing that happens is that in most instances, you know, the couple gets married and they both enter marriage like this, you know, like this, with their hands out.
Yeah.
What are you going to give me?
Right.
The husband tells the wife, and the wife tells, you know, you're going to give me support, give me love, give me this, give me that, right?
Yeah.
And that never works. That approach never works. You got to go like this, turn your hands, right? And fill your hands with gifts. And says, I'm bringing this to the table. I'm bringing this to the marriage. I'm bringing this to the relationship. I'm bringing gifts. I'm a giver.
Yes.
I'm not expecting anything before I give, right? And the Bible says that it's a bigger blessing to give than to receive. All receiving begins with giving. So the more you give into the marriage as a husband, as a wife, right, the more you're gonna get back. But it's got to start with the giving, right?
Yes.
And that and then the other fallacy is this, is that, oh, it's going to be 50-50. There's no, and I tell people, there's no such thing, not even in a partnership.
Yeah. Any partnership.
Anything, there's no such thing. One has different talents, the other one has different talents. The time is not going to be the same time invested, the love for the thing, nothing is the same. It is the job in marriage, right, that if you're at a 80% in a certain area, let's say in accounting, and she's 20%, it is your job to help her raise her 20, get to the 80, right?
Sure.
And if she's better in dealing with the kids, her job is to help you grow in that area. That is the job. That is the function of marriage.
Yes.
Each other helping each other, right? Each individual helping each other in growing in the areas where they're weak,
Yes.
so they can strengthen, and marriage will be stronger, and the family will be a stronger family.
Yes. And I think you bringing it full circle, Pastor, I think one of the key things that you said on Sunday was that the Proverbs 31 model, anything outside of that is not biblical. So to try to have the woman not be this type of person, and really the only reason I think any male would say, well, no, I don't want you to work, or I don't want you to have a business, or just focus on the kids, or whatever. You know, I think many times it comes down to the ego, and I think, you know, ego is really like another word for the flesh. Is really what it is, because whether it be pride or just whatever strange feelings it can bring to the surface, at the end of the day, we have to realize that we're a single unit. You're a single unit. You're a team, and the ideal is that you guys are like seamless. That there's no seam, but you are seamless. And you know, doing it any other way is not the right way to do it.
It's like marriage. I mean, like a body, right? Mm-hmm. My body, my mind, right? I have two arms, two hands. It's like, you know what? I'm going to work my right hand, and I'm going to lift weights, and I'm going to work my right hand. I'm going to exercise my right. I'm just not going to do it. My left, I'm not going to do it with my left. What's going to happen to my left hand, my left arm? Mm-hmm. It's going to die, right? It's going to be a lot weaker, right? I have to, because it's part of my body. We become one. We're part of each other.
Yes.
That means that I'm interested in this growing and every part of the body growing and being healthy. I don't want any part of the body to be unhealthy.
Yes.
In the unit, in the marriage, right? It's the same thing. Every part of that unit needs to be healthy. Mm-hmm. It can't be just one aspect of it, the male. No, the whole unit needs to be healthy. The whole unit needs to grow.
Yes.
The whole unit needs to achieve a greatness in creativity, in productivity, in patience, in wisdom. The whole unit needs to grow.
Yes.
And once we understand that, then we're good. We're happy when she grows, and she's happy when he grows, and it's a beautiful experience.
And it's mutually beneficial.
mutually
that's the thing.
beneficial, and now you can celebrate each other's growth.
Sure. You know, real practical example is if the man is, say, maybe kind of like the more business person or the accounting person, and hey, the wife is a great cook and she starts selling cookies online and starts making a boatload of money. Hey, that's mutually beneficial because now you have more money to invest. Now you have more money to
Yeah,
to
you
do
know what?
things
One
with.
thing
And I've seen that a lot.
I'm going to say this because I don't understand. Well, I do understand, but I don't like it. I don't think it's biblical. I don't think it's godly. You enter into marriage, okay, so you have separate bank accounts, and you're going to pay for the water and the electricity. You're going to pay for the phone and half of the rent. What is that thing?
Yes.
If you don't trust your spouse, right,
Yeah.
for finances, that's the worst thing that you can do is marry them.
Yeah. You
The
don't trust
worst
them.
thing.
Sure.
Don't marry them.
Yes.
You can't trust them with money. Do not marry them.
Yeah, I remember hearing a preacher one time when he was talking about a marriage and you know the person that you're thinking about getting married. He's like, look, I have to teach. I'm your pastor. I have to teach you practical. You know, ask them questions. Do you have a job? Why don't you have a job? Are you a full-time student?
Get a credit report.
He said, he's like, why don't you show me your credit? Oh, you know, and look, it's not to say that that people are perfect or that they don't have flaws. You know, I was thinking this the other day. It was, well, you know, I was talking to a friend of ours that said, look, when I first married, when I was dating who is my husband now, you know, I sometimes had to pay his rent, and he didn't have money to take me out, and I'm like, well, why? He's like, because he was a medical resident, and all his money was going to medical school. He's like, not only did they not pay him really anything, medical school is extremely expensive, and so, you know, that was a perfect example of, well, yeah, he doesn't have money, but it makes sense that he doesn't have money.
He's responsible.
Because it's that season of his life that he's in right now. But that's not going to continue all the time. That's a different situation than like, well, I play video games all day and, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do.
No, if that person is late on his payments, is horrible credit, even if they tell you know what, as soon as we get married, I'm going to change. No, you change first, and then we get married.
Yeah.
You got to give him some time, at least 6 months, a year
Yeah.
of responsible behavior in the area of finance, whatever area it is. But in this case, we're talking about finance.
Yeah.
In the area of finance, and then we'll talk about marriage. The worst thing that you can do is believe that he's going to change, because once he's married, he's not going to change.
Yeah.
She's not going to change.
Right.
A man complete will get together with a complete woman before marriage.
Yes, and as I think of this example, you know, that's a perfect example of what we're talking about, because she, right now, her full-time job is three little small children that are a handful, but, you know, she's an attorney, but she's not doing law right now. She can't do anything other than what she's doing right now, but it's just a perfect example, and he's a neurosurgeon now, so he, you know, obviously they do well, but it was like for a season, I carry the load, now you carry the load, I'm doing something else. But that yin and yang and that flexibility, you can't have that if you are stuck on that traditional main mental mode, which is, as you said, is anti-biblical. It's not. Yeah. It's not right. It doesn't. That the Bible doesn't support that. So there's a lot of things we could really unwrap on that topic.
We continue on for a few hours.
You know, the marriage, you know, again, we have excellent teachings. You know, maybe pretty soon we'll be doing them in a single language, so we can, you know, really package that good. Because I have told people, more than one couple, I said, look, I've listened to a lot of people, at least when it comes to marriage and couples and marriage and family things. I said, you know, pastors, the stuff that he brings is some of the best I've ever heard, because I've listened to Pastor David when I was a teenager, you know, as a young man coming up, you know, figuring out what I'm going to do in my life, and then I got married, and everything that you talked about, it is true. It's exactly, it's like right on what you're saying. But you said that on Sunday. It was really, really awesome that you said that it's not the biblical role for just the man to work and to work all the time, unless she can or whatever, or for a season when the kids are small. That's something like I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that before. I mean, maybe they have in marriage specific things, but that mindset is really important.
And I'm telling you, it really becomes an accelerator. Marriage
does.
becomes an accelerator in many, many areas. And okay, and I got to say this. I know that we've gone beyond the time, but a lot of times we never get to touch our purpose because we're so busy and so inundated with needs in finances, in this and that, because we're doing things incorrectly.
Yes.
And so we die without ever touching our purpose.
Yes.
And it's just survival, and it's like a vicious cycle of life, you know, and from need to fulfilling the need. And then, I mean, we work to eat and we eat to work, and we never get to do the things that God created us to do. And it's a shame.
Yes.
Because we did not give each other the proper time and investment of encouragement and the freedom to manifest the beauty of those gifts. So open your hearts and consider the things, at least consider things that we're telling you.
Yes.
So you can expedite, accelerate the process, so you both can fulfill your God-given purpose and leave a mark here on this earth for the following future generations.
Well, we'll wrap it up there. Remember, if you are here locally in the area or close to the city of Downey, we have our Sunday services at 9, bilingual service, and as always, we have our 7:30 transmission here on Wednesdays. And remember, we have our praise and worship. We have service here. We'd love for you to be here. Invite your family and your friends. We have a great time here in person. You know, now that we're past the scare of the pandemic, you know, a lot of people are starting to come around. So it's really a great time that we spend in the Lord here. Also, if you want to be a partaker of the blessing of what we're doing here as a local church and throughout the world and help financially, if you're not able to come, you can also send a text message with the words Action Feed Center to the number 77977 and receive a link to the PushPay app, which is a great, efficient way to be able to support the ministry with your finances as well. So, Pastor, if you want to go ahead and wrap it up.
Well, I just want to encourage you women, right, to trust God. Trust God with the gifts. Trust God with His amazing plan. God is an amazing God for you. And His plan is an amazing plan for you. And don't depart from it. Trust it. Take action. Take the steps that are necessary to fulfill that plan and be the happiest, right? And as you become the happiest, I can guarantee you that your husband will be the happiest.
Yes.
And your children for sure will be the happiest also.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much for being with us, and we will see you again next week.
Dare to be great. Dare to be unique. Join the group of powerful leaders at Action Faith Center. Your time is now.